Yeah.
Okay, everybody come close to the table if you're not close to the table. Thank God.
Father, is there any support material for the?
Yeah,
for the
there's this
class?
book.
Okay.
This today, I'm gonna send it again in the group chat. So today you can follow along because I'm gonna break down the beginning of the book. So it's not essential, but then afterwards, we're gonna do some practices, exercises from the book, and it'll be useful.
Okay.
Okay, I guess I'll start. This book is a pretty decent book. It's actually used at Harvard, but seminarians use it, and it's used for an undergraduate for many universities. It's simpler, actually, and it's straight to the point. But we're going to change it slightly because as Orthodox Christians who are in a Greek jurisdiction too, or if you travel, you want to understand what is being prayed and what's being said. This is a book that has a lot of scripture inside of it, but we're going to use exercises also from we're going to try, for example, to do the Greek creeds, right? Which was written originally in Greek to understand what is being said. We're going to go through famous passages that mean something much deeper in Greek, going through the Psalms and to some other things. So it will be useful to have this book, and we'll supplement this book with other practices. I already on Quizlet have every chapter, the vocabulary. So you can go ahead and just as you're walking, you can listen to it and will help you also with the pronunciation and will give you a good foundation for it. Quizlet, I'm going to send it in the group. Every chapter already has the words in it. And why is learning Greek important as well for the Bible? We have in 300 BC in Egypt, Alexandria, there was a wealthy individual who wanted to have all world literature, important literatures. He, by tradition, hired 70, some others say 72, translators. According to tradition, they were separated and they came together and they all had the same translations. But it was almost called, it became the norm Bible that was used at that time for the Greek-speaking world. And Greek at that time was like the lingua franca, right? It was like English nowadays. Almost everywhere you go, people, because of its political world influence, everybody knew Greek or spoke Greek.
Bible called the Septuagint.
That's it. That's what I'm just bringing up. Yeah. So that's the Septuagint. It's called according to the 70. Septuaginta, I think in Latin means 70. So the tradition is in Egypt, the 70 scholars translated it. And they translated it into Greek, and that became the normative text that everybody was using. Even the apostles are quoting this Septuagint. Christ is quoting the Septuagint. And I know this is a joke. When you go to a Greek parish, every Greek priest will say, oh, Christ spoke Greek. But he did quote things that were in the Septuagint scripture. So there must have been a knowledge of Greek. And because Greece was such a powerful force at the time, it became the language of the Eastern Roman Empire. And that's why it's important also to understand it. And aside from Matthew, is highly debated, but aside from Matthew, every book was written in Greek. And there's many who argue that Matthew was also written in Greek because of some of the things that are being said. Or in the past, they used to say it was in Aramaic. Regardless, it's very important to understand.
Using the Septuagint?
Yes, actually, you know what? It's actually interesting because we have this idea that the Pharisees and Sadducees who were in Jerusalem around were just very separatist, that they didn't have any association with Greek or Greek cultures. But there's a German scholar who actually studied their children, the high priest, who was like the archbishop, quote unquote, different translation, and his children were actually all taught within Greek schools. Not Greek schools, it was Eastern Roman schools, but there was more of a mix than we think. We thought there was a clear-cut separation. Nobody was affecting nobody. But in reality, this was the Septuagint was what most people were using and understanding and being quoted. That's why it's an important book for us. The Hebrew is something that happened much later because Okay, it's important now. So the Hebrew is like a Semitic language. So you have to put in certain points around it. So you would have like constants and vowel. You will have like constants.
Consonantal
Yeah, a
language.
consonant language, you have to put vowels above and below. It's kind of like ancient Arabic or some other languages, but those dots didn't exist. They were just done by orally. But in the 5th century after Christ, things were purposely changed a little bit to not say what it says, to not to make it a different explanation. That's what,
Masoretic
yeah,
text.
that's the Masoretic text. And I think why it became popular in today's world, the idea saying, oh, Hebrew is the better one, is actually because of Martin Luther and some others that said, you know, this is the correct one. How he came to that definition or conclusion, nobody really knows. Maybe because it was the only thing he had access to at that time, but there was other texts also available.
But it was actually even from, I believe, not Jews from Pharisee Jews, but Jews that were actually against Christ, where Martin Luther received that type of canon from the Masoretic.
Yeah, so he went back, Martin Luther went back to that 5th AD text that, for example, when it says virgin, it was purposely changed to young maiden. When it says they drilled my hands, that was changed to certain things were given. You know what? Because there was a bias. It's okay to say that they didn't want to prove that their prophets or the scriptures are speaking of Christ, and they wanted to make sure people wouldn't get lost in changing the pronunciation or the points. So that's why we have discoveries of text that is more actually aligned to the Septuagint. There's a lot of Septuagint studies done, and it's important to do. I actually wanted to do it in seminary. I actually do my PhD just in Septuagint studies because it's such an important text for us as Christians, Orthodox Christians too, but also as for Christendom in general.
Important thing too is when they discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls, which
Yes.
of course largely in Hebrew, even though they were largely in Hebrew, the meaning largely matched the
Septuagint,
more
yeah.
Septuagint than the
The
Masoretic
Masoretic,
text
yeah. So there was a Dead Sea Scrolls discovered in the 60s, 40s.
in the 40s.
40s. And so in Egypt, because Egypt is actually where they discover a lot of the ancient parchments because of its humidity and its thing. So somebody was hiding in jars in a cave and they discovered it. And there was big parts of Old Testament scriptures, Isaiah, Samuel, Kings, and those translations were actually much clearer
I
than,
mean, they're in Israel now.
yeah, yeah,
Let's see.
yeah, let's see now, yeah.
Although, when the Septuagint was translated though, to initially, it was just the Torah. And
Yes.
then the other books were
Yes.
translated over.
So when we say, well, like I said before, when we say scripture, the apostles didn't have the New Testament, right? The apostles wrote the New Testament. So when it says scriptures, it means the Old Testament, everything that we call today Old Testament. Okay? So that's why knowing the Septuagint is pretty important. And why else are we doing this? Is patristic Greek is the same Greek that was used by the apostles to write. So if you wanted to go deeper into seeing what a father or a saint wrote about something, it also gives you insight into the early literatures of the church. You can actually, we can go, if we get pretty decent, we could go to see like St. Ignatius, what he says in this book and that book. So it gives you access to a lot of things. And we're going to do modern Greek pronunciation. We're not going to do Erasmic pronunciation because his pronunciation was done in the West when there's not a lot of things and academics, and they're saying there's studies that shows that the modern Greek is more obviously connected to how it was, although the modern Greek still does miss a lot. And we're going to go into that because, you know, the vowels, there's so many vowels and there's breathing marks that we don't really use in modern Greek. But at least when you do the modern Greek, it's what's done in the church. And you can use that to then go fully into learning modern Greek. But learning this in the basis gives you strong grammar to be able to then start learning a little bit modern Greek if you want to. So it gives you like an advantage. That's why we're doing modern Greek pronunciation versus
All
the rest.
modern Greek rather than.
This is meant in
Spelling.
this is meant in universities, and all universities. No university has modern Greek. They were scared when there's a Greek speaker in the class. They do Erasmic, and it's a little bit different. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why that was an explanation on why should we learn Greek, the Septuagint, how we're going to approach this book, and we're going to try to go lesson by lesson. And I understand people have different skill sets, different capabilities to pick up a language faster, slower. Some things are more scary. Well, we're going to work together, and we could even meet sometimes and just talk. But also try to go. I have the Quizlet, which is the flashcards online. try to listen to them as you're walking, as you're working out, as you're going to a job, as if you're doing something redundant, because just hearing that and going through it will help. And I'll also send you a Greek alphabet today, because one thing is going to do is the alphabet, so we can go through it. And lastly, and not least, we have an entire row of Greek books here. Okay, from kindergarten, like actually pre-kindergarten age, to like advanced. Come to church, grab the book. We're working on honesty. Take what you want, go home, study, don't write into it, and bring it back. There's even somewhere it just shows you the alphabet to follow along. And just take it. I mean, these books are worth a lot, and they're great books, and that's why they're here, is for us to learn. Okay? So let's start with the first lesson, the alphabet. And I'm going to send you something to follow along. If you're not sitting beside somebody who has a book, try to like sit beside somebody. It's fine online because it's just the alphabet we're going to go over, and we can, if you don't have the book, we're going to make sure I'm going to send in the group to order for next time. But just maybe you can Google, if you're online, just Google Greek alphabet.
That's it.
And as you're going through it, we can just go through it. You see how somebody's really into math or science, you know these things because they come over up science. But there is the lower cast letter on the left, and the right is the uppercase. The first one is alpha. You see how it's written? When you go home, try, and this is going to be something we're going to do for next week, try to write the alphabet a few times with looking at it, and eventually try to just write it without it.
There's this app called Write Greek, and I use it. It's free. And it's really cool. I'm just gonna like slide it over so you can see.
Write Greek.
Yeah.
There's an app called Write Greek. I think Angie's going to share it in the group message. You're in the group chat.
Yeah, I'll post it.
She's going to share it, and it shows you how to. Oh, that's pretty good.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So this is a great app. It shows you literally how to. I mean, this is just an A. Okay. Here, there's a Rama. So this is the. So you can just write along. It's pretty nice. So Write Greek. So we're going to share that. I'm going to share the Quizlet. And I'm going to share the name of the book so you guys can order it and we can go along. And we're going to follow the book for the first few chapters, especially to get the basics down. And then we're going to go on. Again, everybody has a different skill set with languages. Some people are worried when we start going on the grammar section, or can I memorize this? Just keep going, because the good thing is we are in a Greek Orthodox church. Everything you see here, you also hear. You can also, we repeat a lot of it. And that's also why one reason it's important to do this, because if you learn 40 words, 50 words, you can follow along 20 to 30% of the liturgy. If you go to and Greek is like the language of the Orthodox Church. So if you go like to Greece, you can follow along. If you go to somewhere else, like in Western Europe, you can follow along when the Greek parts are being said. So it's beautiful because it also helps you in the spiritual life to follow along and to understand what it's saying, because we do repeat a lot of things. Okay, so let's go. First letter, and go to the app and listen to this online. Alpha. The A, the uppercase, is written like us. The lowercase, as you can see, is on the left. The next, and it's pronounced as in the A in father. Okay? Okay. I'm not the best with language learning. I was just thrown into countries and then I just had to pick it up. So I may not be intuitive. B is beta, right? It's beta, so it's pronounced as in the B in big. Pretty like English. We're so far everything like English. Rama. Now we're starting. Why are you laughing? Okay, Rama. On the left, you see it's like, how do we explain that? Maybe just use the Greek app, but look at the Rama and just understand that it's used as in G, or it can sometimes be N. I will explain later why, but it can be G or N. So Rama as in G as in God, or N as in ankle.
Also, beta is usually with the V sound more than the,
Yeah.
like Vasilios.
Exactly. We're going to get into that more when it comes. What follows it matters, but the Veta sound, as you said, Varvara, Vasilios, it has a little bit the sound of a V in modern English. Correct me if I say anything wrong. Yeah, no, serious, please, because sometimes things, it's my first time teaching a language. D as in Delta. Pronunciation as in door, okay? This is probably the most boring part of the book. E as in epsilon, now we're gonna have fun. It's pronounced as in meat. So one of the scary things about Greek is how many I's there are. There's like 4 or 5 ways to say E, okay? We're gonna get more into that. I'm just saying that's number 1. Z as in zeta, zeal, kudzu. I don't know what kudzu is. It's pronounced with a Z, okay? This. And the next one is eta. It's another E sound, but it's a little bit longer. So it's an as in obey. So it's more longer E. Okay, we're gonna start reading words, and it will make more sense as we go through the words. The next one is the TH sound, almost like in English, theta, and the pronunciation is like thing. Iota is I, another one of the I sounds, pit as in police, kappa, K as in keep, lambda, L as in law, mu is mother, nu is the end sound as a number. He, okay, there is the he sound is as in fox. It's not used as much, but we're going to go through it. The one that looks like an English, an O, is an omicron. And we're going to have another sound like it, slightly elongated. At the bottom, it's the omega. Okay? The omega, how it came to be, is essentially, if you look at the very bottom left, it's a swiggle. It looks like a W. It's essentially 2 O's put together. And it's supposed to do that O long sound, like a longer O. It's like 2 O's together. So one is like not, the other one is vote. So it's a little longer. So if somebody says Omicron virus, you're gonna have to correct them and says it's Omicron. The next one is the pi, right? The P, which is as in poor. You've probably seen that sign if you've done any algebra. The Ro, which is going to be a little confusing here because it's the P sound, but it's actually our pronunciation. So just be careful. At the beginning, you'll get confused, but in time, it'll make sense.
It looks like a P. But
It looks like a P, but the sound that it makes is an R.
Yeah.
The next one is sigma. It's the S sound. To the left of it, there's 2 different ways to write the sigma. If it is in the middle of a word, the sigma is like an O with a swiggle on the top. If it's at the end of a word, it becomes like an S almost going downwards. The next one is Taf, which is T, again, almost like in English, and another Ypsilon. There's another E sound. I know here it says French U or German U, but in modern Greece, it makes another E sound. That's why it gets a little bit complicated, but it's an Ypsilon for now. And the last 3 ones are Phi for phone, He for the German-ish, and Psi for tipsy. So it's like the PSI work together. And the last one, as we said, is the omega, which is 2 omicrons together. Try to write this down a few times at home. Try to do it from memory. Go over that app. Try to listen to it as you may be listening to the app. Spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day. Okay? For now, I know there's a whole paragraphs and remarks for pronunciation. We went over them and we will correct it as we go. For now, pay attention to just one squiggly. As we're going to read through the words, I'm going to show you expansion. The squiggly on top of it is a pronunciation. We do have it in English, but we don't have anything to show it. You just have to know how the word is, right? Why do we say I read and I read differently, right? We put the tone somewhere else, but we don't show it, right? But Greek shows it. The nice thing about Greek is very vowel centered, so it shows how we should do it. It's actually easier sometimes in learning for a foreigner to learn English, because in English sometimes letters or things are not shown strongly, but in the Greek it's like shown how you should put the emphasis on what, and the vowels are shown. So it's like a lot in the a, o, u, there's a lot of vowels happening at all times. And there is 7 vowels in Greek. We said the a, the epsilon, which looks like the e, the eta, which looks like an N in modern English, the iota, which is an I, omicron, which is an O, epsilon, which is in modern Greek an E sound, and the omega, the W. And there are a lot there, and they all make almost a similar sound, but just slightly different, and we're going to go through them. Diphthongs are 2 letters. When done together, they do a different sound. By themselves, they would,
Vowels.
yeah, vowels.
Yeah.
So if by themselves they would make a sound, putting them together, they make a different sound. So the AI makes an I sound. EI makes an E sound as a neighbor. OE makes an E sound, like a longer E. Epsilon E makes an E sound as in queen. And again, we're going to go over it and it'll make it easier. I'm just going through it. So Av makes an, okay, here it says ow, a cow is an ow, but we're going to do an Av sound, which is AV sound. O and the epsilon make a long O sound as in food. And again, the next 2 will be different sound as in this one, because we're doing it in modern Greek. And because the Greek has a lot of vowels and diphthongs, there is more syllabus in a word sometimes. And they're using the word as an example, apostolos, right? The first syllable is a, the second syllable is po, the third syllable is sto, the last one is los. So it's apostolos. And the emphasis on this one is apostolos. Where's the emphasis? Po.
Cool.
Yeah.
Greek words are never accented further up than the third
Yes.
syllable from the end.
The third syllable from the end. And then ancient Greek, we're not going to go over those grammar part, has 3 different breathings. We're just going to follow like the modern does. It's simpler. Most even Greek speakers wouldn't know how to read an ancient one, all the breathing. Ancient Greek, the Kenya Greek that was spoken was almost melodic. It was almost like to some extent a little bit of a singing, how one would speak to one another. But modern Greek has not kept that as well, so that's why we have like multiple E sounds. But in the past one would be like more like heh, like it would more go up or further down to really accent it. Okay, and then there's 4 punctuation marks. 2 we know, comma like English, period like English. Or a major pause or a colon is going to be a dot in the center, like a period, but in the center of the word. Just a stop. Okay?
What's the difference between
W-
dot and middle?
It's a shorter break. Like comma, very short break. Period, long break. If the period is slightly higher, it's like the break between a comma and between a period. Okay? It's very rare. I barely see it, right? But the important thing is the semicolon is a question mark. So how do you show there's a question? It's written in the same way, but just with a semicolon in the end. That's important. It's a good question. It's as it was a melodic. It was very musical language, very melodic. Whatever you breathe on, made it like it would show. Right? Germans have the hardest time learning Greek. You know that, because there are no breaks, and you don't stop, and it's all consonants, no vowels. So it makes it really hard to learn Greek. Like any German speaker trying to learn Greek, it's like a mess. Yeah, so because of how how careful it is with how to pronounce things, whether the tone go on, the vowels, and that's why it's a little bit easier to sing Greek hymns. people who are really good at Greek, singing Greek hymns, which we have, struggle sometimes with the English parts because it's more consonant centered, consonant centered than vowel centered. The vowel sounds nice when you sing it. Consonant doesn't sound so nice.
I think Greek was actually the first language with vowels because
Really?
prior languages, Hebrew and
It's a
other
Phoenician
Semitic
language.
languages were all consonantal.
Yeah, it's a Phoenician language, so probably
I think there were two strands though. The one was like the Greek and the Roman, the other was the Hebrew and the Arabic.
the Semitic languages in the Phoenician. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. God bless. So we're actually going into lesson 2. So we finished already the basics of what we need in lesson 1. We're gonna go back to it. So that's fun. We already first lesson, you're already learning Greek words, right? We're very practical. Aku. It's the verb for I hear. Okay? And the nice things about these verses is, these words is, they go by what is very often. Right? How many times does Christ says hear? Or church, listen to what is being said? A lot, right? So that verb is used a lot. We don't hear, but we're supposed to. The word in English that they use sometimes in parentheses, acoustics. Acoustics, right? And for now, you know that something is we're going to study the first person singular. First person means I run, I jump, I eat, right? And singular, meaning it's just one person, not we jump, we eat. So it gives us first person singular. And then we're going to break it down into how to say you run, you two jump, you all eat, right? So we start first with every word with a singular individual.
Also, whenever a verb ends in an O sound, it's always the omega. rather than
Yes.
the O.
So you're going to see all of them here, all end with the omega sound with a verb. So that makes it easier. Aku, acoustic. Vlepo, I see. Again, sight is used a lot in the scripture, so you're going to see that word a lot. Ginosko, to know, again a lot. Agnostic is somebody who doesn't know, right? If you put an A in front of it, it makes it in modern English negative, right? Grafo, the verb I write, but in English it means graph. Didasko means didactic, like you teach something, right? So didasko means teaching, I teach. Thelo is I wish, I will, I desire. Ke means and, very important. Lego, you see here the G has a little bit of, the G will sometimes have different pronunciation. Here it has a stronger pronunciation because what follows it is a vowel. So it's Lego. I say, I speak, I tell. Where do we hear it in modern English? Dialogue. I don't see how that comes from. Lego, dialogue. Okay. Leo is I lose, I destroy. Oti is that because. Not. So that's how you negate. I say that a lot in the gospel reading. You hear that a lot. That sound, the double all means a negation of something, to be not. If say I don't want, in modern English it's thelo. In biblical Greek, it's thelo.
Why is it true?
Depending on what follows it, which kind of vowel follows it, or what kind of word follows it. We're gonna go more into it. No, yeah, you're getting lost. Why?
Well, you finish. I'll ask a question.
We're gonna go more into it, the various examples, but just know that if you see one of those three, it means negation, not.
Oh, okay.
What you're gonna use will be made clear when we go further other chapters when it shows about which vowels make in synthesis. The idea is like, okay, and I'm showing an example in modern English. Apo ola. There's apo with an O ending, ola with an O starting, the next word, ola. You don't say apo ola. You know how it sounds? It's too much O's going on. So why, when we speak, I would make so many O sounds. Convenience, I would just say apola. I cut it off. When in reality, you don't cut the word off, but you just cut it off for the sake of that. Do we have an example of that in modern English? I don't know.
Like when the word, like when you want to make a plural word and the word already ends with S, so you don't do like that.
Kind of, exactly, yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a French liaison, yes. Like when you're connecting the words because they have a vowel in between.
Exactly, that's what it is. Anybody who like, you want to repeat that, Charlie?
It's like a French liaison where you have, you know, the end of one word that's a vowel and the beginning of the next word that's a vowel. And in Italian, you do the same thing. You just kind of connect them one to the next. I don't know.
Does that make sense? It's more for rhythmic or speaking or writing usage.
Similar to
Yeah.
apostrophe words, right? It's not
Apostrophe. I was
exactly
gonna,
the same, but
yeah, it's not the same. I was
Not
gonna use that
exactly the same,
example,
but-
for example,
Isn't or don't or.
yeah. And there's two other words that we didn't use here, but they'll use at the end of the exercises. Adelphos, adelphi. For now, without what is in front of it, it's just one, a, right? We're gonna go into the other things, but for now it's just brother, sister. Adelphos, adelphi. Okay? I don't want you to get lost in the uk, but it has explanation here. If it has a smooth, the next vowel having a smooth, like O sound, you would use uk because it's like a consonant at the end of it. If something has an rough reading that comes after, it's I don't want to lose you. Just forget that. We're going to go more into that later. I'm losing you. I don't want. That's why I didn't want to go into the details too much, because I don't want to lose the greater sight. I want to do repetition and give you the basics, and in repetition, because you are standing in the liturgy and you can follow. You have my permission to follow along the books or the app, so you can follow along if something is there, and that way you pick up books. Words as you're just standing, and it gives you more an understanding of things. So I don't want you to get lost in the details. Try to do the massive repetition, and then the small details will come in time when you've gotten the basics down. It's like a kid asking, where do I put the apostrophe, when they don't even know, say hello, good morning, how are you, right? You just want to first get those things down, and then they can add those other things in. Okay, they're already starting with all right, they're already starting with a little bit of grammar. I was hoping it was going to come a little later, but for my sake, I like grammar. Okay, so the words we just learned, and I want you to repeat them to the flashcard. They are continuous. It's not shown sometimes in English as much, but in Greek it becomes very important, the tense. You can do an action that I do now, and that will continue. Correct? I am working as a priest. Or I am working as it's something that you do continuously. There's an action you can say that I do just once. I will eat a Panera bread at 3 p.m. Or a continuation of something. I will be studying ancient Greek every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Right? Continuous. I'm not trying to manipulate you or control you, but it's important. And then there's the active and this is actually becomes, okay, let me go back to the tense. Why is it important? Because Christ says ask, seek, and knock. What tense you think he's using? Continuous. See, something as simple as knowing the tense can give you a deeper spirituality and an understanding of things. That's why we're doing this, because it does link to Bible study. Because if you want to now speak to somebody saying, I'm asking God for something, Or I asked him like when I was a year ago and he didn't give it to me. Well, Christ gave us the commandment to keep asking, to keep knocking, to keep searching, not a one-time event. See how important that is?
Yeah.
And the next thing is the active and the passive. We ate bread, or the bread was eaten, right? Which one is active? I ate, we
Yeah,
did
we
the
ate.
action. What does passive mean?
Already done.
No,
No.
the action was enforced upon the object. I threw the ball was
The ball was
thrown
thrown.
on me.
Yeah, the ball
And that's not a good one. I eat bread, or the bread was eaten, right? So I am doing the action, I'm doing the action, and the passive is the bread is receiving the action. Okay? Makes sense? Doing an action, or a good, you want to give me another good example? I should write them down before I come. Active, passive. Come on, guys.
I drink water, the water was drank.
Yeah.
Blessed bread, the bread was blessed.
Okay, yeah. Okay, does it make a little bit more sense?
Okay.
So something important again about passive. The word passive in ancient Greek mean like pathos, something happening to something. Where does the passion of Christ gets the word from? From that ancient Greek word, something is inflicted upon. Maybe thinking of passion, passive voice.
Mm.
Does it make sense? Because Christ was inflicted upon. Okay?
Yeah.
There's another word we use, pathos, which in English gets translated as passion. Passion means something good, positive English. I'm a passionate reader, I'm a passionate runner, I'm a passionate athlete, I'm a passionate student, right? But in ancient Greek, pathos, how it is understood, is actually negative. It's a different, to actually translate into a different word. It means something is controlling me or is affecting in me. I have the passion of gluttony. Which means I am controlled, I am led by the spirit of gluttony, by the demon of gluttony. Something is leading me because I'm passive now. I'm not active anymore. Right? And you see that with like, oh, I start drinking a little bit, I'm fine. But eventually drinking can become a passion. Alcoholism is now controlling me. Okay?
Just to clarify, so the in lesson 2, the ones we just went through, you are saying that these are all continuous.
Yes, for what we did right now is the continuous. All of them are continuous. Aku, vlepo, ginosko. I am seeing, I'm watching, I am knowing, I am writing continuously. It's not as useful as the single, because in reality, we use the single a lot more, right? In English, you say more the action that you do and complete. These are actions that you start, but you don't necessarily complete, that there's no stop.
Like you hear, you keep.
Yeah, I'll keep hearing as long as I'm in the service, right?
But in the present tense, in the Greek, there's no differentiation between the active and passive. It's only, I mean, there's no differentiation between continuous and discrete. I think isn't it only in the future and in the past that the grammar is different?
No, there is one where you use, what will happen is you will use a different form. It will go to it. Don't confuse people.
Oh, sorry.
So there's also something that is, when you look at grammar, how you say something, what the mood is. A fact, a hope, or like a subjunctive, or something that may be fulfilled, or as a condition, a subjunctive mood. I'm going to give you examples. So if I cook by 3 p.m., I will go out. Correct? So that is like a subjunctive. And there's the optative mood. I'm sorry. Don't lose yourself right now, but we're going to go more into it as we're doing practice. It's like a hope. May you be blessed. May you find the love of your life. May you be happy all the days of your life. And actually, when in the church, we use that actually quite a lot, more than modern English. If somebody says that constantly in English, you would think they would be a little bit weird. But in Greek, actually, it's actually interweaved into the language. May you live long. May you have a blessed nazisis. Like you always say that with everything, because everything is almost like a wish, a blessing bestowed on you. Like everything you want to bless in somebody's life. It's actually a beautiful thing to have in a language. Okay. Oh, we're moving fast.
So you're saying if people Greek wouldn't have a word like may or might, it would just change the verb itself?
Yes. Do we change the word or something that may come? Sometimes it's actually something that comes may before it, but usually in modern Greek, it's to put a word in front of it, kind of in English, may. In ancient Greek, it's to change the grammar.
When you say ancient Greek, also
Yes, so forgive me, I'm making that mistake. Biblical Greek. Biblical
Koine-
Greek
Koine.
is Koine Greek or Keen Greek. Ancient Greek is actually, and I should have been more expressive about this, is like Homeric Greek. Like there's more ancient, but that's like ancient Greek. So that Greek is like much harder. This was actually the simplified Greek. And then modern Greek is even more simple than that. So much for we getting smarter. I'm joking. Looks like the opposite.
I think Alexander wanted to simplify to make everybody
Be able to
everybody
accept it.
conquered,
Yeah, possibly. It's a good, yeah.
global language.
There's actually a lot of studies that, as we do go on with time, languages are losing aspects because we're simplifying. We're going to go into this. There's a dative case that it's the indirect object that is getting lost. Now they're even saying that when you say something is of or genitive case is also getting lost. It will get lost in the future, further future, but things are getting lost, actually, not gaining in the language, which is a strange phenomenon, but it's another thing, it's linguistics. Huh?
1984.
Okay, go ahead.
I think one of the biggest things is trying to not learn Greek, but like learning Greek on like a new lens, not by an English lens.
That's a good
It's like
point.
resetting.
Okay, let's stop here right now. It's
Exactly.
any language that you want to adapt. What you're first doing is you're transliterating it into your head. Like I want to say something in Spanish. I would say it exactly like English, but I'm going to exchange the English word for Spanish. It doesn't really work well when you really want to have a conversation in a different language. In time, and this I think sometimes everybody's different, but sometimes it happens naturally that you start just thinking into that language, or speaking to that language. That gives you like a little bit more, because some things you can't transliterate into another language. And that's kind of what you mentioned, is some languages just work differently. Like in Greek, it's kind of like more the German. The verb is so important, and sometimes it comes at the end. In English, I think almost always the verb is at the beginning or very early of the sentence. So you have to sometimes change the way of thinking, and actually shows you that certain ways, certain languages make you think differently. Some people who know a lot of languages, like I feel like a different person each language, because you really think in a different way. You adapt a different way of thinking, which is kind of cool when you think about adapting a language is almost adapting a way of mind. So that's somewhat important to learn different languages. They actually did studies of people who knew more than one language. They were able to actually be more empathetic, and were able to put themselves into another people's perspective much easier than somebody who just has one language, which, for example, it's important for many reasons. Okay, so we're going to do this as the last thing. We are going through the word Leo. I loosen or I destroy. kind of important because Christ speaks many times about unloosening, right? Sin is loosening. Christ destroys Hades, unloosens Hades, the despoiling. So that becomes a very important verb, especially in scripture. The loosening and the unloosening, to loose something. So Leo is the singular I loosen, okay? And then the plural, we add the omen ending, Leomen. You see how the omicron gets dropped, and what gets added is the omen ending, okay? In the singular you, it becomes an eis ending, is. Okay, it's a diphthong, right? E, and the sigma at the end has that squibbling look going down. So you loosen, singular. You loosen or you destroy.
Say it. You say it.
How do you pronounce it?
Leo?
Lease.
Oh.
You know what? Because there is two I, there's a diphthong I and there's an epsilon, which makes it a lease. Okay, there's a lot of I's. This one. Okay, let's. I'm going to go one time through it, and then we're going to keep repeating it. Liete is the ete comes at the end. Liete, you loosen or are loosening. I feel this one is the easy one. The he, she, it. He loses, she loses, it loses. It becomes just the ei, which is like li. Okay. And this is the plural, you all. In very good English, you all. It becomes O-U-S-I. Okay. The last one is not always necessary. It's very rarely necessary. So leasing. Okay. I'm going to say it with the last one, leasing. So we're going to keep repeating this a few times now. Okay. Leo.
Leo.
Everybody say it. Leo.
Leo.
Plural, we. Leomen.
Leo.
You singular. Lease. You plural. Liete.
Leo.
He, she, it. Li. You all. Leosin.
Leosin.
I'm going to do the same thing with Vlepo. We had Vlepo, which is I see, I watch. Okay? Vlepo. Everybody say it.
Lepo.
Vlepomen.
Lepomen.
Vlepis.
Lepis.
Vlepete.
Lepete.
Vlepi.
Lepi.
Vliosin.
Leosin.
Okay?
Leosin.
We're going to say the same thing with, that's why I like the repetition. We're going to do it a few times. Aku.
Cool.
Akumen.
Akumen.
What does that mean?
We here.
We hear. Good job. Where do we say that in the service? Akumen tu agio evangelio. We let us hear the Holy Gospel. See? That's we're going to keep going to see the references also so you can find the when we do it in liturgy. Vlepis. Where were we? Akus. Akuete.
Akuete.
Akui.
Kui.
Akuisin.
Akui.
Ginoskos, I know or I understand. The Gnostics were a group of people who were hyperfixating on knowledge. That is the there's good knowledge, but it was just like almost like metaphysical knowledge and the hate over the body. So, okay. Ginosko.
Ginosko.
Ginoskomen.
Ginosko.
Ginoskis.
Ginoskis.
Ginoskete.
Ginoskete.
Ginoski.
Ginoski.
Ginosusin. Ginosusin.
Ginosusi.
Grafo. I write.
Grafo.
Grafo. Grafomen. Graphis.
Grafis.
Graphete.
Grafete.
Graphi. One. Graphosin.
Grafis.
Okay. Didasco. Didasco. right? Didaskomen,
Didaskomen,
didaskis,
didaskis,
didaskete,
didaskete,
didaski,
didaski,
didaskusin.
didaskusin.
Okay. Did we do thelo? No. Thelo. It's like you hear that a lot in modern Greek. Okay, it's the I want. You're gonna use it a lot. Yeah, that's very much in the modern Greek. So, thelo, I want. Thelo na pino, like I want to drink, like thelo something. We are sick of that nowadays. The will. Thelumen,
Fellow.
we want. Thelis,
Thelis,
thelete,
thelete,
theli,
theli,
thelusin.
thelos.
But there's, you know, the third person plural can also be telun. These are not the only way of, in the third person. Or, oh, sorry, I should.
It is, but yes.
Or is that the way maybe it's done in the,
So in scripture, the third person is more complicated. It's that usin ending. In modern Greek, it's much simpler, actually. It's just un, right?
so that's what it's.
Yeah, it's the scriptural.
it's the scripture.
That one we'll follow that one because in scripture it's followed that. Another thing that I should have said, when you speak to somebody who's above your age, respectfully, you use the second person. Some other languages have that. German has it, yeah. English doesn't really have that. I mean, there is a way, thou, Old English, when you speak to somebody, but in modern English, everybody's almost, you don't speak to somebody in that level. But just know that if somebody is above you, either in age or position, you speak the formal.
Second person.
Yeah, second person plural. So if I didn't know Irenaeus, I would use the second person plural. Right? If we become friends, first person, second person singular. How much time we have?
6.
We can do more. Lego.
Lego.
Lego, man. Yeah.
Language, say the subject in English with the word.
So say
The brain associates like
we speak.
we speak.
Okay, I speak Lego.
So I Lego.
It
So your brain associates I with Lego. So it's when you're saying the word, it's I Lego.
Okay, lead it. Do it for one time. No, come on, lead it. No, you have to lead it. You make a suggestion, you lead. Do it. Okay. You can do it.
Okay, so what's the we and then?
Try thelo. Thelo is easier.
So I Thelo.
Okay. I want.
So then you say we Thelo.
Okay, let's do that. I get it. Okay. Okay. I Leo. Sorry. I Lego. We Lego, man. You singular. Legis. You plural. Legete. He, she, it. Legi. They legusin. Or in modern Greek, legon. I'm going to add a little bit of that, so you can, if you want to, you can pay attention to that part. Pistevo. Where do we say pistevo?
The creed.
Yep, the creed, and it means I believe, right? So I pistevo. We pistevomen. You pistevis. You all pistevete. He, she, it pistevi. They pistevusin. Or in modern Greek, pistevon. You see how much easier it is? Okay, I think we'll stop here. You know what? Maybe we'll just go one more thing. is if something has an EIN, if you see that the paragraph 12, the present active infinitive, in English, it's not used too much, I don't think. To run, comma, is very healthy. It's the to run, right? The to part. To eat is important. When you're trying to just make an emphasis on it, it's called the present active infinitive. It's marked by the epsilon, iota, nin ending. This book is going to make references to it. Just know that. We're going to go through the exercises. Lean, in. Where we go next week, so I'm going to send you, don't be overwhelmed, everybody, okay? I know this was a lot of information, but it was just to go, just have the basics. This basics, we're going to keep repeating. It's not meant that you just hearing this once now, oh, I know how to do the second person belief. We're going to go through this. Next time, we're going to go through the exercises together. Try to do them at home. Try to challenge yourself. Try to just look at it. Try to pronounce it. But for now, I wouldn't go too much into pronunciation. Listen to the video. Go to that app that Angie mentioned, the writing. Listen to the alphabet. And if you really want to be going at top of bounds, maybe just listen to the first chapter of John in Greek a few times. Okay? And if you really want to go beyond it, is doing the service. Look at the Greek and the English book. Have an English and Greek book in front of you for liturgy. And for Orthros, pull out your phone. There's an app that has both side by side, English, Greek. And just follow along. Just make sure it's in airplane mode so you don't get distracted during prayer. That's dangerous with phones. It's very dangerous, actually. So we're going to go through that next week. We're going to go through again this. We're going to do the exercises. We're going to go over some pronunciation, and then maybe we'll call on one-on-ones. No, but please keep coming. Don't be scared. We're going to work on this together. And the nice thing is, it's not just this. You also have the services to support you to learn now. Now you're going to look out for things, and you will find yourself, the more we progress in the chapters, the more you're starting to look, oh, this is what this means. Oh, this is what this means. And you're starting to make connections. I think that's how the brain works. That's how my brain works. I hope your brain works the same way, where you start making connections between things. Okay? Good?
Good.
I hope everybody online, thumbs up if you're okay. You're coming back. Okay. And the nice thing is, very soon, actually, if we keep doing this for a few weeks, we can break down some psalm verses and we can pick up selected verses that are meaningful and we can go through them. What?
Okay, I have a suggestion. I don't know if this makes sense. Maybe for the next class, to like maybe take something very simple, like you said, like kindergarten stuff, and just practice like reading, or like reading the voice. So like the way we're putting the sounds, we can like recognize how to read the word and like how to recognize the sounds as we see them.
Yeah, so
like,
what we're going to do next time is the practice and review, where I want you to just go for now over the alphabet, to listen to it for a whole week, a few times. I'm going to send you a link. Just keep going over it. And then with that, maybe do the writing. The writing helps the brain when you write things. And just listen to that, do the writing. And if you want, just go over the flashcards to know, like, cool, what it means. That's not too much. Okay? And next week, we're going to go one by one. It's going to read. And there's no judgment. Everybody will try to read. And there's going to be slight corrections we do until we get it all along. And online as well, okay? So prepare for that next week. Take it as serious as a class, because you really can get things a lot out of it. And always give me suggestions. Tell me to stop and do something differently, because it's my first time teaching actually a different language.
I have a few observations.
Yeah.
Firstly, I'm extremely excited about this. Because
I think you're the only one. I'm looking online. I'm looking at your faces. I'm getting scared. I'm going to sit here alone next week with you.
no, I mean, several things, okay? Firstly, like a language is like this old vocabulary. It's a way of thinking, really. And Greek is different. So for example, the importance of present continuous tense. It's like, it's basically focusing on nature of things. This is how,
Yes.
read, you're looking at things and saying, what is their nature? And that present continuous tense. So at many, or emphasis between active versus passive. All of that, I think we're going to get, and we're going to get a lot. And each of the words that you pick up, it is going to make lots of connections, especially when we are listening to Greek. One thing I strongly recommend, during the entire liturgy in Orthodox, I'm always having this app on. Okay, so, and what happens is Maria, when she's chanting, she moves from English to Greek. When she moves to Greek, I try to read Greek. Okay, I try to read Greek because even if you get a few things, you're now hearing her sing and you're looking at it. So it's a good way of kind of training yourself. And you will slowly start making connections between the meaning of what you're reading here in Greek. And then you have the English right there. So it's a very, very fast way. And I think like all languages, you have to do immersion. Like all those tools, like videos, that's the only way. And we are fortunate that we are immersed in the divine liturgy. And I think that's really kind of God sent to be able to read Greek. So I'm very excited about it. And for every lesson, lots of different meanings are going to become apparent to us.
And then like Lego pieces, the nice thing about Greek is like they build on foundational parts that keep building on top. So if you know the root words, very soon, like if I know how to write the word I write, I know how to say writer, co-writer, I can write writing. It's like book. There's like a few things you can build off from one word, and almost with everything as well. And everything that the Irenaeus says, you have a little immersion. Try this week to immerse yourself in the alphabet for now. Go to that and look to the alphabet that shows it. Alpha, beta, V. To go through that for now for a week. If you want books, you can grab them from here that have the reading. You can follow along. And do that for the week. And the Quizlet, just to know what the words mean for now. And then next week, we're going to do much more reading practice. So we can read. Okay, that will be the goal next week. We're going to go through these exercises and just keep reading and reading and reading. And we will practice a little bit the various tenses, but we'll get to that afterwards. Okay? Angie?
Yes.
That's his class, Irenaeus.
We're doing Psalm 15, one that we hear.
And Sunday we also have something.
Sunday we have two. We have I think can we mention that about?
Oh, sure.
things on
So
Sunday?
Saturday, 2 to 4, they're going over the Psalm 51.
Yeah.
Have mercy on me, O God.
Yes.
Okay, it's a very important psalm. It's used all throughout the liturgical. It's very important in the Bible because it's used by the prophet David when he commits a major sin. But it's also something that's very useful in the spiritual life, is to know that psalm, possibly even by heart, because of how important it is. The priest has to say it silently many times during the service. So that is when it's Saturday from 2 to 4. Sunday, June the 8th, we have at 1:30.
At 1, yeah.
1:30, we have the public reading of scriptures, which we will come together to read scripture together, getting to the practice. And at 2:30, we're reading the Orthodox prayer live, which is somewhere, it's for an hour. It's both hybrid if you want to join in. And there's a certain blessing when you are in a group setting. It will teach you, it will propel you more to read. I believe it's because if somebody has a grace or gift of reading scriptures a lot, I think it does share in the community. And that's why we should always do everything in community to be able to give the grace to others and perceive it. Like if somebody has a grace of kindness, you can even receive it by being close to them. There's a story of Saint Porphyrius when he just went to a Geronda to visit him, and he had clairvoyance, and he just received that same gift from him because he was close to him. And I think there's the same thing that happens sometimes in the church. If somebody has a gift of teaching, encouragement, it makes us complete. And we're in the time right now where we celebrate Ascension. We say Christ ascended on high to give gifts to humanity. And that is something that we receive, is those graces and those gifts. And the church only is complete when we're all together. They're not complete when I am by myself. So it's nice to do it in a group setting to get the grace from somebody. So don't just think about, oh, I can read Bible at home alone. That's the whole point, is to read it together in a group setting. Fellowship. And that's how actually the scripture was always read. It was never read alone. If you told the first century Christian, second century Christian, or even a worldly person, read it silently in your head alone, they would laugh because you would read it out loud in a group setting. Okay?
Very much.
Thank you. Have a blessed evening. God bless you. Sorry, I went over time a little bit. I said 8:30, it's 8:36. God bless. Good night, everybody online. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Father.
Pause the recording.